Well, hello again, friend. Happy Thursday. Kirsten here, your decision coach for the episode. We're going to talk about plans this week. My question to start is, how do you set up your plans for yourself? Just think about it for a second. When you're looking at your day or looking at your week or even looking at your month or your quarter, how do you set those expectations of what you should be able to do, what you are going to reasonably accomplish or experience? Where do those expectations come from? It might sound like a simple question. How do you make your plans? But my guess is you don't have a simple answer. Odds are you might not have thought about this before, where exactly you come up with your self expectations. Now, if you have, super fantastic, great, congratulations. This episode is going to help you assess if your method is working well and if there's anything we can do to make it better. But if you haven't, you're going to love this episode because it is going to call attention to one of the most powerful habits that you can change. Are you ready? So, this episode is coming on the heels of last week's discussion about, do your standards match your season? AKA, are you setting expectations for yourself based on your experience in a different season of your life? Which is a great opener for this discussion we're going to have today. We're going to take that question and we're going to zoom into your day to day. This is applicable to your plans you make for yourself for your weeks and months on end. But where do we change habits, y'all? Is it in months? No, it's day to day to day. So we're going to talk specifically about how you are planning out your day to day. Let me walk you through a very common habit that many people have when we first start working together, which we change over time. Let's see if this sounds at all familiar for you, okay? It might not, and it might just be a variant of something you're experiencing, but let's just check. Some of the time, when people start working together and we start really assessing, okay, what are your goals? How do you want to be spending your time and energy? And then what is happening? How do your days match up with that? Are your goals getting any of your time and energy? And what habits do we need to change to make everything easier? Something that comes up is this habit of making a plan that consists of about 1900 things that they should do this week or tomorrow. And then what usually happens is they do not do all 1900 things because the plan did not account for things like needing to be a human who takes a break once a day minimum, or surprises coming up that cause you to deviate from your plan. They don't get everything done. They usually stretch themselves a little too thin anyway, trying to get more done, or they just feel super mega scattered in the process of going through their day or week. Then they usually feel like a failure, like they have objectively failed. They started out feeling behind and they never caught up. And then when it's time to make the next plan, they do the exact same thing. And they justify this cycle by clinging to an unquestioned definition of realistic. In their mind, the 1900-mile long list is realistic. They realistically should, their words, be able to do that many things in a day or be able to do this much in a week. Or they should be able to see that many sites on vacation. It's not always to-do lists and work projects. It's really a way of seeing life through this lens of what's realistic. And folks, you might have seen this coming, but if you have been experiencing this cycle where you set these kinds of expectations for yourself and then fail to meet them and then feel like a failure and then repeat the process, you guessed it. I'm going to go ahead and ask you to stop using the word realistic for at least 2 months of your life. We're going to press pause on this word being in your vocabulary so we can actually experience some different results. This word has officially lost all usefulness in your life. It is making you feel terrible. And let me put it to you this way. If making plans based on reality in this way worked to mold you into the kind of person who got to the place where you could do the 1900 things, if it worked to motivate you to just work hard enough to catch up and never fall behind again, if it worked to turn you into a person who no longer felt like they were failing to meet their own expectations all the time, it would have worked by now. So let's take the data that you've gathered from this very useful experiment and let's do something with that data so that we don't embody the definition of insanity and expect different results from doing the same thing over and over and over again. Okay? This is usually my client's least favorite part of this conversation. I'm going to be super honest with you. It is not fun for them to consider any other course of action than just keep striving to meet the expectations. But at this point in our conversation, what I asked them to do is stop using realistic as the gauge for what do we expect and to start being honest. And I get it. I get that the last thing you want to do is admit what feels like defeat and just sit down and put the white flag up and say, all right, world, you won. I can't do it. I can't do what I should be able to do. I can't work as hard as I should be able to work. I can't go as fast as I should be able to go. That's when I remind them that regardless of what you think you should be able to do or what you think should be happening, what is happening is reality. At some point, if you've been in this pattern for a long, 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 long time, what is really happening has to matter more than what you have learned or convinced yourself should be happening. Because you're going to get the same amount done either way, regardless of whether you're okay with it or you absolutely disagree that that's what should be happening and we are in the wrong reality now. It doesn't matter. If you've convinced yourself you should be able to get things A through M done in a day, but you consistently do things A through D, maybe E, if you're feeling spicy, then that's what's going to happen. You're going to get to the end of the day and you're going to have done things A through D, no matter which version of reality you're living in. So if constantly setting these expectations that you think are realistic is not working to achieve the results you want and it's making you feel terrible, then it's time to stop focusing on what you think you should be doing and start focusing on how you're thinking about it. We have to start shifting your expectations from quote unquote realistic to honest. Now, let me reassure you before we get any further that I am all for doing all the things. Do you know how happy I was that I worked for myself from Zoom during the pandemic? I had friends with proper office jobs who ended up getting furloughed and they went bananas. And I was like, I get it. They took upon projects in their homes because they simply needed something to accomplish. They needed a goal to work on. They needed somewhere productive to put their energy. And I get it. Success and fulfillment and growth cannot happen without feeling like you worked a little hard for it, at least some of the time. But I am also all for doing it in a way that works. I am all for you not feeling like a complete failure who can't catch up, striving to meet the expectations that you've set for yourself to the point where you might just give up or burn out altogether. So, in the spirit of honesty, shifting your focus away from what you're failing at, that you should, quote, get better at, and shifting your focus towards setting honest expectations for yourself can feel icky. It can feel like you are planning to do less than what you have trained your brain to believe is necessary. Because think about this, you've taught your brain over time, these are our expectations. This is what we should be able to do. This is correct. This is a fact. And now you're going to turn around all of a sudden and be like, hey, but I listened to this podcast. And now what I'm going to do is less than that. I know that I should do this A through M, but I'm going to plan on doing A through D. That's not going to feel good. Deep breaths. That's when it's really, really, really important to remember that when something feels true, it is usually a sign of a habit, not a fact. I'm gonna say that again slower because it is so important. When something feels true, AKA, I should be able to start and finish 19 things tomorrow. That feeling is usually a signal of nothing more than a habit, a thought that your brain has thought so many times that it has built belief and now feels factual. But that feeling indicates familiarity far more than it indicates facts, which is great, fantastic news because that means you get to take that feeling with a grain of salt. When you start setting more honest expectations and you look at your plan for tomorrow and your brain is fighting you because it is like, nope, we have to do things A through M. People are depending on us. Things will catch on fire. This is actually legitimately important. And it is a fact that we have to do things A through M. But if you're breathing and you're inviting in a little more honesty, and even though it feels like it should realistically be possible, I'm doing so many air quotes if you're not watching the podcast on YouTube, even though it feels like it should be realistic, if you're being honest with yourself and I'm going to do A through H at best, and that is only if I hit all green lights. Then that feeling that starts welling up in you that's like, oh my gosh, we're breaking the rules. We are planning to fail. We are literally striking the match that's going to start the things catching on fire. We are going to take that feeling with a grain of salt. It just signals that we are deviating from an established pattern. And when you are changing habits on purpose, my friend, that feeling is pure gold. It means, yes, you are going in the right direction. Keep going. So, why am I really over here preaching that you essentially lower your standards? Because that's what it sounds like, right? It sounds like I'm putting my little soapbox down and I'm climbing up on it and I'm saying, you know how you want to do big things and a lot all the time? Better not. Just don't. It's easier. Let me clarify where I stand on this. I know that you want to achieve big things. I know that you have dreams that you don't want to give up on, or maybe you even want to revive because they've been put on a shelf for a decade or two. I want those things for you too. But where are big dreams and huge goals accomplished, really, in the day to day? That's the only place that you can take action. You can make all the plans you want for the year, the quarter, the month, make them color coded, put them in a spreadsheet. It doesn't matter if the actions that you take and the mindset that you have today and tomorrow and the next day and the next day after that don't align with them. And constantly setting expectations that you fail to meet is not going to get you there. And I'm going to tell you the truth because I'm speaking from experience here. It is a wonky idea, I will admit, to want to strive for growth and progress and bigification of yourself and the life that you are living at the same time as not setting impossible standards for yourself. How can you achieve the impossible if you don't strive for the impossible? But let me tell you the truth. Every single time that I have achieved great things, that I have ramped up my business, made scary leaps, or even just had intense periods of focus, like when we're moving and I don't want it to drag out into like a 7-month process. The only times I've been able to increase my output and feel good about what I was doing, I've only been able to successfully do that when I had an accurate gauge on my output in the first place. I want you to achieve big things. I want you to take big leaps. I want you to have intense periods of focus when you need them. Sometimes it will require you to work harder or faster or smarter. So let's set you up to go into those periods totally on your own team, being honest about your self expectations. So when you want to adjust them, when you want to expect more of yourself, you're set up to make that realistically happen. And when you don't need to adjust them, when it's okay for you to expect what you're going to do today and then do it, let's set you up to actually enjoy that, to feel genuine satisfaction at the end of your days. Because I know you're not putting zero point 0.5 things on your list, even on your laziest day. I see you. I want you to feel like you're setting yourself up for success and succeeding. So try this. Just try it for a couple weeks. If 2 months sounds like too long, just try it for a couple weeks. Stop using what you think is realistic to make your plans and start asking, what do I honestly think I'm going to do? What do I honestly think I will finish tomorrow or this week? How much do I honestly think I can sustain my energy through the 10 meetings that are on my calendar or through like 5? If I'm being honest, let it be okay if answering the question, how would I make this plan if I were being honest about my expectations? Let it be okay if your answers make you feel, "Ugh." That is you purging the old habits, the old way of thinking. We have to confront it and process it and get it out of our systems in order for this habit to change. Because I promise, when you start being a person who can look at your day and week and month and quarter and be honest about what you can expect for yourself, you will feel powerful. You will not feel like you're behind, starting on the back foot and never probably going to catch up. Wah, wah. Well, at least I had big goals because that's what you're supposed to do. At least I put 19 things on my list because that's what I thought I should do. No, none of that time wasting nonsense. You are going to feel powerful. You are going to feel in charge of your time and energy, and you are going to create big things that are worth time and energy. Yes, please. Can we get some confetti? All right. Oh, didn't know this was going to be such a soapbox episode, you guys, but I am fired up about this. So I hope you are too, as I'm covered with confetti. Let me remind you, this is what I work with people on all of the time. This is a habit change. This is not going to happen overnight, and it's certainly not going to happen on its own. So if you're ready to get yourself into this sweet spot where you are making the progress you want to make and achieving the things you want to achieve and still working hard, because I know you don't want to stop, but you also don't feel like a failure, like you're letting yourself down and constantly behind every single day, it's time to work together. Go to kirstenparker.com/schedule, book your call. It's free. We'll talk about when do you want to work together, how, on what. I work with people privately. The Decision Masters program is coming up in the fall. There are lots of options. Nothing needs to stand in your way. You do not need to feel like this for the rest of time or until the list shrivels up and gets smaller on its own. We know never going to happen. So let's do it. Let's do it now. I hope you have a fabulous week. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk, and I will see you on the podcast next time.
Hey, want to find out your decision style? Obviously, go take the decision style quiz. It's in the show notes and at kirstenparker.com/quiz. We all have our style when it comes to making decisions, but do you know how to use your default way of thinking to your advantage? Or do you mainly get stuck in the most annoying parts of overthinking and people pleasing? The decision style quiz has your answers, my friend. Take it right now at kirstenparker.com/quiz.